Oh, are we ready? Are we ready? Yeah? Cool. Thank you all for joining us. It's lovely to see you all in person instead of over Zoom and the other side of a camera. I still remember really well my days in contingent recruitment. I remember feeling like there was no difference between the sell and delivery, and it all blended into one. It seemed like I took a job on, I stuck it on a job board, I waited for CVs to come in and I emailed them across. You've probably all been through the same thing as well. But it never felt right. I never felt like I was doing right by my clients. I never felt like I was treating them in the way that I'd want to be treated. And I just felt like I could do a much better job. We've all worked on that no-win, no-fee basis, and we know the challenges that come with that. So I did the course 4.5 years ago, as many of you know. And the first thing I learned was how to secure my work on a retained basis. Learned how to sell it properly from Louise. But it was back then, and it still is so important that ultimately we go on to deliver, and we deliver well. And I had to be able to execute on what I'd sold to my customers. Now, I know what you're all thinking. Jordan, surely a god of recruitment like you had no problem with delivery. I'm joking, I don't know why you're laughing. Not the case. Yeah, I struggled. It didn't come naturally to me. I made mistakes, and in fact I vividly remember a moment where my managing director at the time pulled Louise and said, Louise, Jordan has to stop selling retainers because he can't deliver on them. I took it really well, like an absolute champ. Yeah, so when I handed my notice in a few weeks later and started my new job, I knew the importance of delivery. I knew how important it was that I went on to deliver on everything that I sold on. But I made mistakes. Yeah, it wasn't a straightforward path. And finally, though, I had the opportunity to do a proper job. I was working for a search business, I was working in retained partnerships, and I was finally able to look after my clients in the best way. But I learned the hard way in many situations and in many circumstances by making mistakes. But it made me a better recruiter, and our hope through the course and through days like today, through the Q&As that we see you on every week, is that we can share those experiences with you and let you learn the lessons without learning in the hard way and being bitten on the arse like I was. Delivery isn't easy. In my opinion, it's probably harder than the sell in many occasions. But there were some common mistakes that I made straight from the off that made it even more challenging. The first mistake that I made, I think, was more of a generic one. It was a lack of understanding of what does delivery mean. And I think our customers often have that same misunderstanding, right? They think that retained search is some mystical process. And it means all of a sudden now, because they've paid us a commencement fee, we can produce people that don't exist and we can pull rabbits out of hats. And it's not the case, but I thought it was the case at the start too. I thought that my job was to find our customers the perfect candidate. But often the perfect candidate doesn't exist. And what I learned was my job is to find customers the best candidate that's available to them on the market at that given time, not the perfect candidate. And our job in delivery is to present all of the data and all of the intelligence to our clients in a way that allows them to see that that is the case, allows them to see that the shortlist we've presented is the best candidates available to them at that given time. It makes the picture clearer for them, and it allows them, importantly, to make informed decisions as we progress through the process. I didn't do that at the start. I carried on searching for the perfect candidate, always thinking there was a better candidate out there. And that left me several times in situations where I was working on roles and I felt like I had a noose around my neck. Yeah, we've all had those roles that they go on for months and months and months, and it's like there's no end in sight. And that's the reason we follow the delivery process. That's the reason we drive our clients to a result, to ensure that we fill the role with the best possible talent available to them at the given time. The second mistake I made is a big one, and I made it several times before I realised it was biting me in the arse. 2 words: steering calls. Yeah, how often do we talk about steering calls on the Q&As? I can't stress enough the importance of steering calls in the delivery process. And I mainly fell into the trap on tougher roles, harder to fill roles where the search wasn't progressing in the way that I'd want. It was tough. I wasn't finding enough candidates, or the candidates weren't coming back to me. I spent 2 nights not sleeping thinking, oh my God, I've got that steering call on Wednesday, what the hell am I going to say to them? And then like a gift from the gods, I got that email from the client saying, I'm dead sorry, Jordan, I can't make the steering call. Can we push it back to next week? And I've never typed yes so fast in my life, yeah? But it's one of the biggest mistakes you can make, yeah? And it will bite you on the arse down the road every single time, yeah? The steering calls are for your benefit. They're not for the client's benefit. They allow you to keep control. They allow you to re-steer the search and ensure that you're driving them to a result at all times. They're obligatory. If your client cannot attend steering calls or does not attend steering calls, the search goes on hold. The final mistake I made, and it pains me to say this, was my MD that told me I shouldn't sell if I couldn't deliver was probably right. Not about me, necessarily, but in general, as a rule of thumb. I went and sold lots of retainers without thinking about could I deliver them or not in the early days. And we see some recruiters, they don't want to work on a retained basis because they don't like the commitment that comes with it. They don't like that they have to commit in return to the client. But in my experience, the only time I haven't liked that commitment is when I haven't been confident that I can deliver. And I've been there, I've done it, and it ends in tears every time when you sell a retained search on a role you're not confident you can deliver on. The only caveat to that is I think all roles are fillable. I don't think there's anything you can't deliver on, but it needs the client to be receptive to feedback and to be able to flex the parameters. Lots of things go into making that happen, right? So it's important to understand your client's needs, yeah? Position the retained solution right, and then deliver with absolute commitment all of the time. And I can assure you, if you do that, if you deliver, your customers will come back to you and work on a retained basis every single time.